Welcome to today's free weekly training from the HVA-Chicks Coalition. Today's episode is brought to you by Testo Tools. If you are sick of getting incorrect measurements, inaccurate readings, please switch to Testo. Instruments is what they do best. Thanks, Testo. All right, guys, today we're going to talk about A2Ls. This is going to be a kind of revamp, repost of our original A2Ls class. We put this presentation together when A2Ls first hit the market. And it was because, as everybody knows, when A2Ls first came out, we had absolutely no knowledge of them, no information on how to work on them. We didn't even know what laws were changing due to the AIM Act, what was required of us from now on. So that is what we're going to learn about today. But now that we've had time with these machines and the tech support has had time with them and I've worked on them personally a whole bunch, now I wanted to kind of redo this video for this week and add in some of those things that maybe we didn't know when I made the presentation, or maybe we've come across since actually working on the machines. So you'll see things about, wiring that aren't in the presentation that are kind of clipped into this video. It is the same video, again, that we put out when A2Ls first hit the market. It is a beginner's overview for A2Ls, but it does contain everything that you need to know before touching A2Ls as a tech. So, as always, if you need more information about our training topic, or you have another topic that you'd like some free online training for, please just reach out to me or any admin in the coalition. My email is jennifer@hva-chicks.org. You can also DM or text if you have our numbers, anybody in the coalition that is an admin, and we will get those to you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for continuously coming to HVA-Chicks free weekly training. We will keep doing this as long as you guys keep wanting it. Thanks for being here. Yay. Okay. All right. I'm going to read it on the YouTube because I think when I go to that tab, I can't see it. You guys can't see it. All right, moving on. Okay, so one chlorine molecule grabs a hold of up to 100,000 ozone molecules and it eats them. Then they're completely gone. You're delayed? What on earth is happening? I don't know why it's delayed. Don't Jennifer me. I'm trying. You told me to use YouTube. I hate this platform. All right, I'm going to keep going. Let me know if I'm lagging super bad. Okay, so A2L refrigerants are mildly flammable, low GWP. GWP is different from the ozone depletion potential. Ozone depletion potential is that chlorine that we're talking about. 410As of the world don't have ozone depletion potential, but they do have high GWP, which is global warming potential. So though they're not destroying the ozone, they are heating the atmosphere. So they are contributing to global warming. So what we want to do is we want to drop that at that GWP, and we want to make sure that we're using low GWP refrigerants, which is our new A2Ls. Technicians will need to update some equipment to handle the service of A2Ls, but you won't have to update all of them. And I will tell you what you do need to update. Safety precautions. We need to be safe when we're using A2Ls. We need to be safe when we're using anything. Like, I don't know about you guys, but those of you who do heating, like I work with A3s all day. So I'm not afraid of A2Ls in any way. And I'll tell you why soon. But I will say that anybody needs to be safe working on anything. And we need to follow the proper safety guidelines because there are fines associated with them now. So education combats fear. And we have nothing to worry about if you follow all the safety guidelines. Communicating benefits. Explaining the environmental advantages of A2L refrigerants to customers helps to ensure that owners understand retrofits, new equipment, and leak repair responsibilities. So, yes, good practice is exactly, Alexander. So, when we have a customer who doesn't understand what's going on in our world, in our industry, they are far less likely to take our advice, right? So we need to educate our customers, and we should be doing that every single call. You should be educating your customers. The more they know, the more they understand their responsibilities. All right, guys, I have to switch over to switch the page. So hopefully I don't go black. All right, I'm coming back over. Can you still see that, I hope? All right. Overview of U.S. refrigerant laws. In late 2021, the United States Environmental Protection Agency, our EPA, issued a rule implementing legislation that mandates an 85% nationwide phase down of hydrofluorocarbons. That's our HFCs. Okay. So that's by 2036 is 85%, but we'll get over what we're doing right now too. In the start of 2022, production of HFCs was forced to drop 10%. And then in 2024, that number rose to 60%. So over the next 15 years, the American Innovation and Manufacturing Act, the AIM Act, targets 85% phase down of production and consumption of HFCs nationwide. So that means this is going to go far faster than R22. So you will hear from lots of technicians that have been in this world for a long time who will say, oh yeah, just like R22, here we are 25 years later and we're still working on 22. That was a very different phase down than the AIM Act. The AIM Act is a very progressive and very hard hitting law that makes it so that we are not in 25 years, we will not still be working on 410. 410 also doesn't last as long. Like those units just don't last as long. They're not as well built as the R22 units were. So what you guys saw with R22 is going to be very different from what we see now. So looking at the new refrigerants versus the old refrigerants, okay? So R22 had a 0.05 ozone depletion potential. Any ozone depletion potential is bad, is horrible. And so we need to move away from that completely, which we did with 410A. We've already done that. However, if you look at the global warming potential of R22, it was actually less harmful to the warming effect, to the greenhouse gas effect than 410A. So what we got rid of with the chlorine, we gained with the global warming potential. So now we're like, crap, we got to deal with that because now we're warming the atmosphere. So what do? We take half of 410A. That's right, folks, half of 410A. It's 410A without any flame suppressant. And we take that and we use it as a refrigerant. So we have 0 ozone depletion potential now and only 675 GWP. That is absolutely beautiful compared to what we have done for the last 100 years. All right, so just, little tags that I put on here. 85% by 2036. That is huge. That is progressive. That's going to make a dent. That's going to actually show up on your radar. The ASHRAE label is A2L. That means it is a non-toxic, slightly flammable refrigerant. Tool adaptations, 4 types of tool adaptations, and we'll go over those in this little thingy. All right, switching back over to move it. Hopefully it doesn't go black on me. All right, differences between HCFCs and A2Ls. The environmental impact, HFCs and HCFCs. HFCs have a low ODP, but still have a high GWP. We talked about that. This means that they still contribute to warming our atmosphere. And then the environmental impact over here, we have A2Ls, which are HFOs. Hydrofluoroolefins is what the full name is. They have very low GWP numbers in comparison to HFCs, and this means that their impact on the atmosphere is also minimal. Flammability and toxicity, we have HFCs are considered A1 refrigerants. They have a super low flammability and toxicity potential. And A2Ls are still almost no toxicity whatsoever. And they're considered moderately flammable. And when I say moderately, I mean you have to hold a torch on them to get them to burn. If you remove the torch, you remove the burn. Problem is, there are other materials around that refrigerant, right? So sometimes it can catch a wire, and wires are flammable, right? So it's not so much that the refrigerant within the unit is flammable. It's more that when the flammable refrigerant leaks out, it can catch other stuff if there were a spark. So that's what we need to be careful of. And I will tell you how we're being careful too. So blend versus singular refrigerants, okay? Zeotropic versus azeotropic, for those of you science heads. We have 410A as a blend of R32 and R125. So R125 is that flame suppressant I'm talking about. R32 is a single compound, so it's not a blend. R32 is more efficient and requires less refrigerant for cooling, while R410A operates at a higher pressure. R32 is moderately flammable, unlike 410A. 410A will not burn. I mean, anything will burn if you heat it hot enough, but in a typical situation, it will not burn. R410A versus R454B. So again, 32B is half of 410A. R454B is a zeotropic blend of R32 and R1234YF. R454B performs similarly to 410A, with some units even seeing a slight efficiency boost. So R454B will behave like 410A. So we'll see similar pressures, similar temperatures, things like that. but we will have way more efficiency in these newer units. And that's why we're going to a lot of VRF, because those are even more efficient. All right, I got to move the slide. A2Ls in large commercial. Okay. So A2L refrigerants, including HFO 1234YF, R454A, R454C, R55A, 455A, R457A, blah, 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 blah. All these ones that you guys see on your screen are approved for use in commercial refrigeration due to their lower environmental impact and improved efficiency. So those of you saying reefer won't see it, reefer won't see it, reefer will see it. I promise you, you will see. For commercial HVAC, you'll see R454B and probably not so much 32B. You'll see a lot of 454. But on the reefer side, we will be moving there as well. I know it happens so much slower, but it's still going to happen. And then I just put the ASHRAE, the guideline for that and what all of these different ones are. What are A2Ls? What are B3s? What are A3s? Because I want you guys to understand the difference. A3s are combustible gases, right? And A2s and A2Ls are not. They're just slightly flammable. Let's talk tools. Here we go, the part you've all been waiting for. What is A2L compatible and why, right? So, quick facts to know. It's not just about tools. Mandatory use of A2L refrigerants in new HVAC systems. All new HVAC systems have to be made with A2Ls, okay? Updated safety standards for handling and installation. That means you guys. There will be updated safety standards, not just standards, but mandatory standards that you will have to follow in order to use A2Ls along with your license. And then technicians installing a new system must adhere to specific requirements. Listen to this. This is important, such as ensuring proper ventilation. We will go over all of this when we do our service and install class. Proper ventilation, placing refrigerant lines away from potential ignition sources. Okay, so we have to be much more careful now about where we put our reefer lines. And using appropriate materials that are compatible with A2Ls. You want to make sure that you're not ruining your tools and such. Okay. Technicians need specialized training to handle A2L refrigerants safely. So we will offer as many of them as we possibly can here. We have great sponsors. We have people from ESCO that love to teach classes for us. We have already had one A2L class with Jason Orbizer of ESCO, and he is willing to do more. We will keep you guys as up to date as humanly possible with all the best safety standards, the best strategic stuff that you can do in service, all these things. The problem is we cannot accredit you. You will need to get accreditation eventually. You don't need to right now. We're grandfathered in for a little while, but eventually they're going to come out and the AIM Act is going to say you need to be certified just for $50. Like, take it if you can get it. To purchase A2L equipment, a tech certification class. Again, that's what I just said. So all of these tools that are on the screen right now are compatible with A2Ls. All of them. So Yellow Jacket's new line, I love their baby tools. That's what I'm calling them. They're babies. They have, amp clamps. They have all kinds of stuff, manometers. They have all kinds of stuff that is very, very small, very compact, and very easy to use. It's all Bluetooth, and it's all A2L compatible. Field Piece, everything you have right now from Field Piece is probably already A2L compatible. If it's not, you can have it updated with a software update. You can also apply to a bunch of different tool programs are updating for techs who can't afford to. There's a bunch of stuff out there. We'll be posting that list in the coalition as well for you guys. NAVAC is pretty much there as well. Just about anything you own for Digi NAVAC tools will be A2L compatible. And then the things that I really want to talk about are vacuum pumps and recovery machines. So some recovery machines have a spark. The brushless motors have a spark inside them. Those ones are not A2L compatible. So you need to check your recovery machine and make sure that it specifically is A2L compatible. And then there's Chemers does have great info. We have Don Gillis, who's going to be teaching an A2L class of Chemers. He'll be in our coalition as well. And then NAVAC, same thing. Just make sure that your recovery machine is rated for A2L. Same with your vacuum pump. Leak sniffers is a different story. Most refrigerant leak sniffers now can do HFOs, but there are some out there that can't. The Inficon, their entire line can do HFOs. Field Pieces, 2 models of Field Piece can do HFOs now. So if you have it, it probably already does it. Just make sure before you put A2Ls in your equipment because you don't want to break it. All right. Considerations for handling. PPE and preparation. Always wear PPE for chemical and flame resistance. You guys know that. Like, buy you some Carhartt flame pants. I love my Carhartt flame pants. They are not flattering, not even a little bit, but boy, do they work. You need to make sure that you're clearing 10 feet of area of debris. Maintain a fire watch when applicable. You guys who work in commercial, especially large commercial, you know how fire watch is. It's mandatory at most of those places. I've done, bigger, airline hangars, things like that, where we had to have fire watch for anything flammable. Even though A2Ls are not going to catch like that under normal circumstances, a lot of commercial places will make sure that you do fire watch. So make sure if you don't have your fire watch certification, make sure you get it. Or your hot work permits, make sure you're filing for hot work permits if they require it. Most places will not, but there will be those who work in industrial or large commercial who will need to get hot watch permits for A2Ls. Make sure you have a fire extinguisher nearby. Make sure you have a fire extinguisher nearby. There's no reason not to have a fire extinguisher nearby. They even make little tiny baby ones that you can put in your tool bag. Lock and cap method. Tech should ensure locking caps are installed on all A2L systems to prevent unauthorized system access. This is not should, and I should not have written should. It is must. It is a requirement. You have to put locking caps on all A2L equipment. They will come with them, most of them. The ones that don't, you have to buy locking caps with them. And if you don't have the tool, the locking cap tool, make sure you get it. They have a great one. I believe Appion makes one. They have a bunch at TrueTech Tools. Use our discount code. It is HVA-Chicks, all caps at checkout. You guys have access to that, so use it. The big three. The big three is the best one. This is the most important, okay? All companies must, and I put must on this one, require the big three: inert gas, nitrogen, purging, evacuation, and pressure testing. So gone are the days where you could get away without an evacuation. I don't know anybody still doing that. I really hope that nobody is doing that, but I have heard some stories, man, that I could tell you. So you have to purge nitrogen while brazing. You have no choice. You have to perform a deep evacuation. You have no choice. And you have to pressure test. You have no choice. So I don't mean, do I see my decay test rising a little bit more and now I need to freak out about it? What I mean is hold a pressure test. If you hold a pressure test, you're good. No sweat, purge, and roll, baby. No sweat, purge, and roll. Ventilation. Ensure adequate ventilation in work areas to minimize potential gas accumulation. This is not for toxicity, you guys. These are very low toxicity, if any at all. This is because the only way this stuff is going to burn is if you have a very large accumulation of that gas. It's not going to burn if you have a little tiny bit and, you light a match 20 feet away. It's going to burn if you have a very large amount in a very small space. It will be code in every single city. Yeah, Mike, it will be code in every city. It'll be code nationally. And it is a requirement from the manufacturer for all A2Ls. It's also a requirement of the AIM Act itself. So it is a national code. RDS requirements. This is important, you guys. Listen up. Most A2L systems will require a refrigerant detection system, and they all will. It's not most. All of them will require it. Some will have them built in. It's just a built-in leak detector to alert for service in the event of a leak. It will shut down the equipment and it will alert anybody near it that it needs to have a leak check. So the reason for that is obviously we don't want this stuff leaking. It can in many, many different ways. Even final destination shit can happen, right? Anything can happen where this stuff will burn. So we want to make sure that it's not leaking. Okay, so this next one, we're going to talk about the tools a little bit deeper here. If you guys aren't sure if your tools are compatible, you can go on to, I know Field Piece has one and I know Yellow Jacket has one. You can go online and you can type your tool models into the checker and it will check to see if it is A2L compatible. All right. Yes, those are locking caps. Those are considered locking caps, Alexander. Alexander Fagora says Supco makes caps that you can use an Allen key, and those are absolutely acceptable as long as they are a locking cap. So the only thing that the locking caps are doing is preventing anybody who doesn't know how to work on A2Ls from accessing the refrigerant in the system, because if you don't know how to work on it, you shouldn't be working on it. And I think locking cap should have always been a thing. How many times you guys walked up to a cap and it's loose and it's pushing the Schrader cord just right and it's leaking all your refrigerant out? All right, so tool, field piece, NAVAC, JB, Yellow Jacket, etc. There are a lot of low brand tool companies that also are A2L compatible already for vacuum pumps. The old requirements are standard. The new requirements are compatible with A2Ls. Most of your newer ones, unless you have a really, really old model, most of them can already do them. Probes are always the best choice. And I put that literally in my changes in tool application just to sneak it in there for you guys. It's always, yes, TrueTech tools. That was the other one that I was looking for, you guys. You can type your tools into the calculator, or you can go on TrueTech tools and you can look at the list of approved. Probes are always the best choice. Manifold gauge set, analog is the tool that we're talking about here. It is standard CFCs, but it needs to be A2L and HCFC rated. So even if you're using analog gauges, compatible. Some can use HFOs, some cannot. All right, so infrared, ultrasonic, sniffer styles, leak detectors, okay? So the infrared, obviously, yes, A2L compatible. Ultrasonic, yes, A2L compatible. Some sniffer style, all of your Inficon, all of your field piece, those are going to be A2L compatible, but some are not. So make sure you're checking your tools. Recovery machines. Okay, this is important because the old requirement had a possible spark. Some of the motors start with a spark. Yellow Jacket, field piece, JB, NAVAC, etc. They all have A2L compatible models out already. The new requirements, obviously, A2L approval. And it has to have no spark technology. All right. So technician specific changes. Certification. Again, you have to be Danny says the RDS system will turn the blower on and shut off the compressor and automatically reset when the dilution lowers to acceptable range for resi. Yes, exactly. So it will not only alert that there's a leak, it will shut the system down if there's a leak, and it will run the blower. Yes. So yeah, get your certification when you can. I'm going to try like hell to get a certification on SkillCat for all of my students that are on there. Hopefully we will have something available in the next few months. But we are also releasing a bunch of state tests, so it's going to be a while. Cylinder changes. This is important, you guys. Cylinder changes. A2L cylinders are left-hand thread. Okay, so no righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Remember that before you ruin the threads. They come in silver cylinders with a red stripe and are equipped with safety relief valves. We have no more pressure plate that blows the whole charge. We now have pressure relief valves. Must be fully evacuated and punctured with a spike. You can't see it on there, for disposal. So now we're supposed to do that anyway. We're supposed to make sure it's completely empty and then puncture with a spike, right? I know a lot of people that like to use their empty refrigerant jugs for target practice. That's great. It has a hole in it. We're good. However, don't do that with A2Ls because you could start a fire, okay? Follow procedure. Flammability of A2Ls is moderate. This means it can burn in an open flame but is not explosive. Fear can make it harder to follow procedure. Remember that you're in control and not the materials you work with. You guys are technicians. You guys are not homeowners. You are technicians. There's no reason you cannot work on an A2L. If you can work on natural gas, LP, if you can work on home heating oil, then you can work on A2Ls. Just don't be afraid of it. Being afraid of things tends to make us lose our minds a little. Transport changes. A2L cylinders must be transported so that the vapor phase is in communication with the safety relief valve at all times. This means upright. DOT will offer certain waivers for certain situations where you cannot carry it in an upright position. But for regular service technicians who drive around in a van, your sideways refrigerant holders will no longer be a thing. You will have to turn them upright. And that's because, again, if we have a high amount of pressure in an A2L, we want to make sure that the vapor is releasing through the pressure relief valve. We want to make sure that that's not building pressure within the cylinder and eventually blowing up or catching fire. Okay, so this is the changeover for customers. And this is important too, you guys, because there is, and I say this all the time, you guys, it's going to sound like a broken record. There is no better way to sell than to educate. Okay. So if you are a good technician who knows how to fix a system and knows how to make a proper diagnosis the first time or second time, then you are going to be way more in a position to sell than any other technician. These guys that you guys see on the 1 hour videos, on TikTok, on all these things, you have to take them with a grain of salt because those technicians that don't know how to fix a machine, they are not selling in any way that has any integrity. You're only selling you're only selling with integrity if you have educated your customer. Okay. So we need to educate our customers. So we need to highlight the environmental benefits, right? We need to explain the lower global warming potential of A2Ls. We need to explain the process and change from HFC, like R11, R12, to HCFC, like R22, to HFC, like 410, and then to HFO. And we need to explain to our customers why we're doing that, right? We need them to understand that the science was there and that CFCs and HCFCs were great, but that we then found out that they were harmful for the environment. We needed to change that. And the only way to change that was to go to another blend, right? And then once we realized that that blend was also harmful for the environment, now we're switching to do something better. And also, you guys can let them know that this is going to happen again, because in the very near future, we are going to be on natural refrigerants. We will see more ammonia. We will see isobutane. We're already seeing R290, right? We're going to see all of these natural refrigerants come back. And what happens, we're going to have to educate our customers again about that. But you can let them know that that's going to come in the next 20 years eventually as well. And then clarify safety measures, discuss safe handling procedures that technicians follow, and give facts about true flammability to abate fear. Again, you guys, fear causes craziness, right? So we don't want to explain to our customer that we're using new flammable refrigerants, and that's why I have a fire extinguisher next to me, and leave it at that. We want to explain to them what the flammability is, explain to them we are highly trained in how to be safe with these refrigerants, but that we wouldn't suggest that they go anywhere near them, if that makes sense to you guys. Explain it in a way where it's not scary that they're like, oh, I could do this. I'll go buy a set of gauges online and do my own system, but so that they're not afraid of their HVAC either. Emphasize long-term cost savings. These, you guys, when I say efficient, I mean efficient. So I have it on my VRF board here. It was something like, I think I erased it, but it's like 42% more efficient. So an A2L refrigerant in the same system as a non-A2L refrigerant is going to be 42% more efficient. That's massive. That's massive. And that's if it's a VRF, obviously. But even without it being VRF, we're still going to be, 30% more efficient. That's insane. With the way light bills are right now, like we can use this to get our customers to be okay and be on board with this. And we can also use it to get them, what if they have a 15-year-old 410A system and it's still running, but you're replacing parts once a year? We can explain all of these things to them and about, yes, your system's still working, but if you were to take that money that you're investing in a part a year or a couple of service calls a year or maintenance every year, you can take that money and you can buy a far more efficient machine that won't need quite the love that the one you currently have needs. All right, and that's the end of the slideshow. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right, now that we finished the slideshow, I'll reiterate that while most A2L units come with factory-installed A2L sensors, not all of them do. In this situation, for instance, we have a dual fuel. We have a furnace that's gas and a coil on top and an outdoor unit outside. In this situation, it was 454. We have to wire this sensor ourselves. So the sensor's job is to essentially sense a leak, cut the compressor, run the fans to dilute the space until a tech comes and fixes it. That said, some of them come with their A2L sensor in the wrong spot from the factory. This one, for instance, came with the sensor in the drip line of the condensation in the coil, mounted to the coil. So water drips in there after running for an hour or so, especially if you have a really good charge and it's cooling really well, and it ends up ruining your sensor. Luckily with this one, we were able to dry the sensor out and get it going. This is just kind of showing you the wiring. If you guys go back and look at the pictures that I've put here, I'm just showing you how they're meant to be wired for the situation where you're dual fuel and you have an A2L for your cooling or heat pump. Obviously, this one is straight cool. That's one of the typical problems we see on A2L wiring in terms of dual fuel. A lot of them, again, like I said, most mini splits, inverters, most units that are just a heat pump are going to have it come factory installed. But when you're putting a coil on top of a furnace, that is not the case. You have to wire it yourself. Again, if it's straight cool, you can go back and look at those pictures and you can just kind of match your wires to mine. If it's a heat pump, you're going to have a reversing valve in there as well. Just know that. Some other things that we're seeing, namely in 454B, we don't see this as much in 32 because it's kind of closer in charge to 410, I think. But with 454, the manufacturers always swear in the manuals that you need to charge based on subcool. The load affects your subcool. They'll say something crazy like between, it'll be like 8 or 10 or 12 subcool. If you're doing anything other than weighing in the charge with 454, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're going to be really confused, or you're going to have a severe overcharge if you do it based on that subcool. Most good running units that I see that are cooling really well with really high delta T's, perfect supply temp, those are actually running between like a 3 and a 6 for subcool. So on charge, when the manufacturer is telling you to charge it to 11 or 12 subcool, and it really, is going to run perfectly at 3 to 6, you're going to end up with an overcharge every time. And a lot of the time it's pounds. So that's another thing that we're seeing. Other things is nothing really to do with A2Ls so much as new equipment since COVID. We're seeing a high lack of quality. Parts that are bad from the factory, charges that are bad from the factory. You need to really be paying attention when you put these units in. We can't any longer trust the manufacturer to have done a really good job at the factory, considering the sheer amount of mass production going on. Make sure that you're checking out all of your safeties. You're testing them to make sure that they are in working order. Making sure that you don't have a board, you start up your unit and you have a board that maybe is funky that you don't know about. So it's just doing some weird stuff and you can't really nail down your diagnosis. Go and look at that board. Make sure you don't have solder connections that aren't connected, loose wires attached to them, Molexes with pins bent back, things like that. Make sure you're checking for all of that. And again, if you guys need any more A2L training, call the tech support line. If you're on an install or a service, call that you don't understand or you don't know how to go any further with it. We love to train on the tech support line. It is a training line. It's not just tech support like for one manufacturer. It's for all manufacturers. So call us up even if you just have a question about it. Maybe you got it right, but you're like, whoa, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know how I just did that. Give us a call. We'll walk you through it. And then if you need more training, if you want to have some assignments to do or some online in your own time kind of work that you can continue on learning about A2Ls, reach out to any admin in the coalition and they'll get to me and I'll get it to you. You can also email Jennifer at HVA-Chicks.org. We're happy to help. All right, guys, have a wonderful rest of your Saturday, and I hope you enjoyed this A2L training.